What up, PokeNet? Thanks for coming and checking out the video today. We're going to be looking at what are going to be the top 10 cards that should be included at Worlds. So this is cards that you should be including or cards that are going to be included. So these are kind of the top 10 cards I think we need to be looking into as we head into Worlds and some other local tournaments that you guys may have, that are well known or like well established, or maybe just forgotten about, and some of them are ones that we just don't use enough. And so we're going to go take a look at what are our top 10 cards going into the World's Tournament. And so number 10, where we're going to start off with, is Jamming Tower. So part of why this is number 10 is it's already included in a lot of decks, and we certainly already know about it, right? It's not something new or that's forgotten. But I do think we need to include it more, and you'll see as we go through this list why that's the case. But this is a card I think is going to be successful, it's going to make a difference, and it's going to have a little more inclusion as we get into Worlds than it has here in the last few months. And so this is number 10, one of the cards we need to be ready to see as we get into Worlds and get ready. As we look at the next one that we have, this is a card that's been around for a long time. It almost needs no introduction, but we do forget about it. It just hasn't been in decks as much as it probably should. And so number 9 is Switch. I mean, my God, like, right, it's been around for a long time. It's not a card we don't know about, but we haven't been including it as much recently. I don't know if that's because of Badoo, right? So we just go away from some item cards. But realistically, I do think being retreat locked is going to happen. With Clutch, Sob. One of my cards I love including in the Manectric deck is the Stunfisk. So the fact that we can get retreat locked, we need to have a better way out of that, and Switch is the way to do that. I also think because a lot of us aren't running Prime Catcher anymore, this gives us a different way to get out of the active and retreat with something else or something like that. So don't forget about Switch, right? We need to include it more. We need to see it a little bit extra. Again, it's not super high up there because we all know about it. But number 9 is Switch as far as our cards we need to look into as we start to get ready for Worlds and or local tournaments, right? Things we just need to be ready to look into. This next card is one I don't have in any competitive decks. It's not one that I even thought about having. However, I have seen multiple decks that I've played against where this has made a difference, especially if we're not attacking early. And that's Lumoy City. So realistically, if we're not attacking turn 1, either first or second at times, Lumo City is a great way for us to get more Pokemon on the bench, and especially ones we have to make our mechanic work. So Lumoy City, I think, is going to see a slight uptick in inclusion. And I think there's a decent reason for that. Because we don't have a ton of different ball variations that we can use that we love, I think Lumoy City is a way to get there. And so it's going to get a little more inclusion. Again, I don't think it's going to be massive, right? It's not going to be the best card in in the meta. But I think it's one we need to look into and seeing a little bit more of. So the next card is actually cards. And that's because I think either of these could work well in your deck. It kind of depends on what you're running and what you're playing. Again, this isn't a card that you don't know about, but it's going to get more inclusion, and that's Kieran. So, and again, I already talked about some of this is retreat lock. We need to get out of the active at times. I think Kieran is a great way to do that. But also because we're going to be able to do an extra 30 damage to those EX Pokemon. And I do think we're going to see a little bit more megas at times. We need to be able to hit just a little bit harder, right? And Kieran does that. So this is a card I think we're going to see a little bit more inclusion, and we need to think about how we can tech it in or finding it. Again, I think realistically, Black Belt's trainer only helps us by 10 more damage, and is it really helping us more than we get out of Kieran because of retreat lock? And then I think as we look at this number 7B, whatever, AZ's Tranquility, for the same reason. We need to get out of the active. If we're getting retreat locked, having AZs to get out of the active is great, especially if we get a heal. Because we're going to see a few more spread damage decks, I think that's going to be something that's going to be a bit more popular. Being able to heal that 80 damage is going to make a difference. And so, again, I think this depends on what kind of deck you're running. Do you need Kieran? Do you need AZ's Tranquility? But I do think they're ones worth looking into, and which one you should include and tech into your deck. I think either of these can be a decent option. And ones that are going to have more play than they have recently, because they just haven't, right? There hasn't been much play at all with these cards. So the next one I already have included in one of my competitive decks. I've played when this card first came out years ago now, which is crazy. I loved playing with this card. It was one I really enjoyed using. And so coming back, Iron Crowns EX, right? So being able to use this Twin Shottles and do 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, I think is going to be big, especially because we're going to see festival leads more. It's just going to happen. It's so successful right now. It's got a lot of run at online tournaments. So Iron Crown is going to help us fix the math in that matchup. It's also going to help if people are running if people are going to be running some other decks with low HP Pokemon. It can also help us at the end of a match, right? We didn't quite get to something and they've retreated. This helps us get some extra reach on the bench if need be. So I think Iron Crown is one that's going to get played more. We're going to see it just a little bit extra here at Worlds, and so I think it's one you got to think about too. Should you include this? I think the fact that it only needs one psychic energy helps out a lot in certain decks, especially like Raging Bolt or something like that. So you got to be ready. Can Iron Crowns help out your deck? And you got to go check it out. And so that's why it's up on number 6 on our cards to include as we get into Worlds and local tournaments. And number 5, pretty similar why we need number 5, and that's Chi-Yu. And again, this just murders what we got going on with festival leads, right? So the fact that with festival leads we get to take a KO, right? We're one shot hitting the Applins and Diplin, my bad. Well, both. But we're also keeping them from having those Pokemon, getting those festival grounds in play. This makes such a big difference. So if you have fire energy, you probably should be taking this in or finding a way to do so. Because festival leads it's going to be there. We're going to run into it a bit. It's going to be successful at Worlds. So Chi-Yu, that's a card you need to find a way to tech in. Especially if you're already running fire energy. I think it needs to happen. So the next one is certainly a card that's already been included, and a lot of decks are already running it, but I do think we're going to see a bigger uptick is Team Rocket's Watchtower. So Team Rocket's Watchtower hits off number 4, and that's because there's so many decks right now that are just reliant on colorless Pokemon's abilities, right? So Mega King has been huge. We're even seeing the Bouffalant, Mega King Bouffalant, be successful right now, and so this helps us shut that deck down. But we also have, Meowth is always out there. The Dunsparce is huge. And then obviously with Toucannon showing up, we just need ways to slow them down, and this is the best way to do that. So I think Team Rocket's Watchtower is going to be more successful, and we're going to see it with more inclusion. So be ready to see it, or be ready to put it in your deck. Right, Team Rocket's Watchtower is going to be a big part of some of the winning decks at Worlds, and I'm pretty dang sure of that. So that's one we gotta be ready for. I hope I can say the next one right. Okay, I hope I can say this card right. It's already seeing some inclusion online, and for good reason. This card is pretty dang successful with where the meta is kind of heading, and that is Babiri Berry. Babiri Berry, right? I think that's how you got to say it. Babiri Berry, right? So try saying that fast 10 times, right? Say that 10 times fast and throw in the comments how many times you could say it before you slip up. I get to like 2 every time. So if you say 10, I don't believe you, right? So I don't believe you if you put 10 in the comments. However, try saying Babiri Berry 10 times fast and tell me how many times you can get through it. But again, because we know Mega Excadrill is coming, it's going to be at Worlds. It's going to be successful. We need Babiri Berry to help us out, especially if that's a bad matchup for you. This is a card I think can make the difference. And again, it's already showing up online tournaments. It's been big, and I think it's going to continue to be that way. And so it's one we got to be ready to see and or include. Just again, be ready for it because I think we're going to see it more. So, Babiri Berry, number 3. We're going to get into the top 2 cards coming up here. You got to throw in a guess too. What do you think? What do you think could be the number 1 or number 2? Right? What do you think they can be? I think both of these can be great cards. I think both of them are going to have a great chance at being in the top, top 3 or 4 decks we see at Worlds. And so as we look into these, again, I think these are cards. One of these I've already included in multiple competitive decks, and probably one I'm going to be playing. But this card is Hero's Cape. I just think it's so hard to hit big numbers right now. I mean, outside of a few decks, this Hero's Cape keeps them from taking KOs. And if somebody misses on one turn, that can be the difference, right? That can win us the match. So I think Hero's Cape, if you're unsure what ace spec to run, Hero's Cape might be it. It's just been so good in online tournaments right now, and I think it can stay that way. So be ready to include Hero's Cape and or see it, right? It's just I think it's going to make a difference at Worlds. So that's why it's number 2 on our list, and it's one we need to be ready to see as we get close to Worlds and some decks that we're going to be playing. And I think that kind of makes sense with where we're going with number 1. And I think this is a card that's already included in a lot of online tournament decks that are winning. I think we're going to see this in the winning deck in Worlds. I think it's probably going to happen. And so you should be including it in your deck too. And that's Tool Scraper. Scrapper, my bad. I always call it Scraper. The dyslexia gets me all the time. I think Tool Scrapper, because of what I've already showed you is in the top 10, can be massive at Worlds. And I think we're going to need to have a one-off in every deck right now. I think it's going to be a great play to have. And I think it's going to make a difference in Worlds. I mean, we're going to have to watch and see, but I think it's very possible. So Tool Scraper gets the number 1 on what cards you should be including in your decks going towards Worlds and or some local tournaments you have coming up here. Let me know what you think of the top 10. Let me know if I missed anything, right? Is there any other cards we need to be putting in here? As always, smash the like button. Please go subscribe and check out some of our other videos and see what's going on. Otherwise, we're super excited for Worlds coming up here. We can't wait to watch and see who's going to have the best deck and what comes out on top. And then, as always, the way we sign off is have a Poketastic day.